Welcome to Viewpoint, your program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. We're going to bring in all three today, this morning. Instead of a kudo today, I'm going to light up the switchboard and comment about what a wonderful debate that was last night. Using debate as a word very, very loosely. I just wonder if everybody else felt the same as I did. Just totally enamored of both gentlemen. I use that word loosely. So that's my kudo today. Forget it. Mrs. Busby, let's get right down to business. She's still traumatized by watching last night.
I am. I'm not teasing you.
From the city lines up here to the Atlanta radio station, I had a harangue all the way up there from Mrs. Busby about that last night. In any event,
Lo siento mucho, but I went to a debate and ended up at a dogfight. Yeah. It was very disgusting.
You used the word debate loosely. That was not to be
That's
construed
like
as a
calling
debate,
these riots demonstrations.
Well, our sponsor didn't pay us to get up here and talk like we don't know what we're talking about, so let's get rid of that.
I thought he did. He has for years. What the hey?
Why don't you introduce our nice guests? They've been kind enough to give us their time and talents this morning. So let's bring them aboard.
Okay. We do have two politicians, but these are of a different ilk.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Tracy Welch is the acting mayor. And Ratsa Ruck to you. And with him is Peggy Bateman, and she is the city clerk who keeps all the books in order. And Ratsa Ruck to you, too.
And treats people very nicely when they go in there to have to conduct city business. So you run a good ship, young lady. I don't know how you browbeat your associates up there, but they're all very, very kind, very nice to people when they go in there with any questions at all. So that tells me that there's some good management there somewhere along the line.
You betcha. Yeah. You betcha. Now, Tracy, you are called the acting mayor.
Or mayor pro tem, I think. Is that the correct word?
Well, that's how I started.
Oh, okay. Well, let's clear up the action then.
So I've been on the council since November of 15, and when Mayor Goodman came in, he made me the mayor pro tem, or the backup mayor, in case something would happen to him.
Right.
There we are.
And when he resigned earlier this year, the council then took action because we had to have somebody fill that seat temporarily. They appointed me as the acting mayor.
Okay.
All right, that cleaned up that word. No pro tem, he's the acting mayor. All
Was
right.
that something you'd aspired to, or did it just happen to you?
Well, I've been talking about this for about a year now, prior to Seth resigning. It kind of put me in that role sooner than I had hoped I might one day be in that role. But I did announce last year about this time that I was running for mayor in the upcoming election. So I had already, at least in my mind, got myself prepared for that role.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's,
right. Well, bless your heart.
First thing we have to do is thank him
Yes.
for making he and his talents, and his family, by the way, available to help run our fair city. That's just not an easy job. First thing we're going to ask him this morning, all right, is the condition of our streets. Well, if he solves that during a while, we can almost deify him if he. That's a big word. I'll explain that to you on the way home.
Okay.
but seriously, we do have. That's probably. I suspect if both callers were to call in at the same time, both questions would be about the condition of our streets. So let's just address that gorilla in the room.
Okay.
And tell us what your long-range plans are in the city for our wonderful streets, which are deteriorated in a terrible condition.
Well, it's no secret that our roads could be in better condition throughout the entire city. And the challenge that we have at the city is that we've got approximately 170 miles of road that we're responsible for maintaining. And Walt's crew does a great job doing what they can with the roads that we have. But the budget only allows at this time for about $500,000. So $500,000 will cover about 3 miles of road annually. So if you do the math, you're looking at about 59 years for us to address every single road in the
And
city
he
of
and I
Lincoln.
don't have 59 years left.
I don't even know if I have 59 years. So we better do
I'm not
something
getting in that
different.
category.
So the challenge we got is that every road is different. It's got a different surfacing.
Substrates, too.
Yep. What lies under those roads is part of the equation. And so a few years back, we got a program that Walt does analysis on the roads every year, and it helps us determine what those targets are for the upcoming year. Now, it's just a recommendation. We can, deviate from that if roads require more attention.
But it's not a hit or miss. You can't say, well, we're going to take this part of the North Union Street now, and then we'll go over to South 8th Street or West 8th Street. It wouldn't be South, of course, and do that. So you've got an overall plan from which you were working.
We do, and the original plan started out as, here's the targets for the entire city, and in the last couple of years, the aldermen have said, we want to make sure that our wards that we represent get equal representation. So we've taken it a little step further to say, give us the targets for each ward, and then we'll go from there. And it's worked out well.
But how can any targeting be done unless you work hand in glove with not only streets and alleys, but also sewer and water? Because you don't want to fix a nice street up and have it go bad in the sewer or water department and have to be redug.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I was actually talking about 4th Street with someone yesterday, and we're going to do the road in front of Carroll because we had a sewer project there. But further down to the west of 4th Street, it needs serious work as well. But what prevents us from just doing some road resurfacing is it needs some infrastructure repairs from the sewer perspective, and that's going to be a project in itself. So
Now, how does that lie, though? That wouldn't be the responsibility of the city through the council, would it? Wouldn't it be the responsibility of the city through streets and, through sewer and water?
Well, the wastewater facility is owned by the city, and we contract with a company to come in and manage and run that for us. So they work with Walt to help identify these targets, and Andrew Bounds, who is the manager out there, he knows.
I know him.
Yeah, I've heard you do.
For the record, that would be Judith's grandson.
I even love him.
Yeah, Andrew's a great guy.
But we deviate from the conversation.
He works with Walt, and because he knows that infrastructure from the sewer perspective, and so when we're talking about targets, he weighs in on that discussion.
Yeah.
It factors into every target that we identify.
It must be just monumental to address anything, because there are all these tentacles out from every issue that have to be addressed at the same time and with different outfits.
It's just like you and I juggling schedules up here. We have sponsors we have to be sure to take care of. And so if Mr. Ash is ready to put the right button, we'll go right ahead and acknowledge our sponsors, whom we appreciate very much. And right back live in the studios here in WLCN High on 2250, that would be County Road. Our guest this morning on Viewpoint, Peggy Bateman, our city clerk. We're very pleased to have you take your time with us, Mrs. Bateman, and the young fellow here who's the acting mayor. And we appreciate your straightening us out on that, Tracy. Tracy Welch is kind. By the way, somebody just jump in and take an existing seat that suddenly become vacant due to resignation. Somebody ought to tip their hat in his direction. That takes a lot of engineering, a lot of giving up of time, and a lot of having somebody give him some ear claps to go over his ears so he doesn't have to hear all the carrying on about our streets and so forth. Tracy, we appreciate your coming up and spending some time with us. We were starting to talk about our streets as we entered our commercial part. Oh, by the way, once again, before 6:30, before 8:30, whatever it is, 648-5510. 648-5510. If you have any questions, be nice to these folks. They're serving you as representative of you in their city government. Our acting mayor, Tracy Welch, and our city clerk, Peggy Bateman. If you have any questions, they'll be happy to field your questions, but just be nice to them or we'll shut you off.
What's the ratio of Pats to Pans as you spend your day?
Between Peggy and I?
Uh-huh.
I mean...
No. I mean, as you work for the city, and it
Straighten
takes
this out in a hurry,
some
quick.
dedication, do people oftentimes say to you, hey, they fixed that pothole I thought I was going to fall in my alley, and I want to thank you for that? Or do they always say, well, you didn't do a very good job when you fixed that pothole?
Well, typically those start out as complaints. Sometimes they convert into some thank yous and things of that nature. I never got into city politics for anything other than helping people. So, I'll help you solve your problem. And I know Peggy will as well. She goes above and beyond in her office. And if somebody says thank you, great. If they don't, I know that I help solve their problem.
Yeah.
That's why I got into it.
And Peggy, bless your heart, you're just right there all the time. So they have a live body that they can go to.
Yes.
How do you like being there? You've been there for a while now. You've got it felt out.
Things are going smoother. It was a rough go 4 years ago when I started with the new software, and then they threw the trash billing at us, and that was a fiasco nobody wants to go back to. But it has gotten a little smoother, yes, and I do have a good set of ladies that works for me, and they are always willing to help anybody. They go way above and beyond.
They're kind of the first line of defense, aren't they? Yeah. They're
they
there.
catch the irate taxpayer. Why is my tax bill? Why is my sewer bill this way?
Yeah. And when I took over from Susan Gilbaugh, she made the comment to me that the City Hall was the hub of Lincoln. Anything anybody needs or wants or questions, they're going to call City Hall. And that
Sure
is true.
enough.
It may have nothing to do with the city. Some of the questions that we get when people call and just want to know things.
You're just kind of like the Atlas, aren't you?
Yes.
They just go to City Hall when they want to know, how do I find out about this and that and the other thing.
And the funniest question we've been asked, and we still laugh about it, is somebody called and wanted to know, how much can your suitcase weigh to fly?
Well,
that was a new one on it.
Well,
they give you a lot of credit for a lot of knowledge.
That may come as in the records and the annals of questions. It's the most stupid question ever popped around.
The girls use Google a lot when they get calls like stuff like that.
Oh.
Well, do you have a really big phone book there that you could tell the nice person, why don't you try this number?
No, she has
and
a
they'll
computer
tell
board.
you.
We have looked at phone numbers for people that has nothing to do with a city facility or anything.
Well, if something could be done about getting to the citizenry some kind of decent phone book, it would be so helpful. I don't know where the outfit is that makes the decision as to where we get our phone books, but they're a real abortion.
Those phone books are subsidized by the advertisers. Simple as that. There's no question about that. I just sitting here thinking way, way, way back, just before the flood, when our city clerk was a fellow by the name of Jimmy Greenslate, and Jimmy was physically handicapped, so much so that he sat on a little platform, and he had two wooden handles that he used to propel himself. And he was and this was long before the days of handicap accessible places, and he was our city clerk way back in the 30s. So, that's a day or two ago. We have a bunch of sewer pipes piled up there in the corner of Union Street and Peoria Street. I've been there all summer. Do you know what they propose to do there, Mr. Welch?
That's for our Union Street project, for the CSO improvements that we're doing.
What kind of improvement?
It's your grandson is running it, helping us. the sewage upgrade.
No wonder the thing is such in terrible shape.
Yeah, it's the combined sewer project that we have. It's an EPA mandate that we have to follow now, and that project it's going to run between $15 and $20 million. We're still working on some of those numbers with that project itself. And we have switched over contractors, so that's why those pipes have sat there for so long.
Okay.
Yeah,
Something fell
we
through the
had
cracks.
a crew in there that was doing work, and they're also working on, most people don't know it, but a little bit down Union Street, there's a new pump station we're building as well. And so they help with that. We're kind of in a pause mode right now, and we'll have another contractor be coming in soon, hopefully the beginning of November. So you'll see those pipes actually start to be put into the ground soon enough. So, yeah, for anybody that lives out there in Ward 1, that's big news.
Mr. Welch, what is the most common complaint that you might come across the mayor's desk as day-to-day activities as you run our city?
The biggest one's roads.
Yeah.
Roads are important to people, and we just don't have enough money to do all the roads we'd love to do. And so we continue to try to identify funding sources to help put towards that. COVID right now is a big issue. So I field calls, and I'm sure Peggy does in her office, about things such as, I'll tell you one I got last week, was someone called me and told me that the church that they go to, people were in there hugging each other and were not wearing masks, and I wanted to report that to you. So,
And you said?
Do I call the busybody syndrome?
well, I mean, those are the type of things that we're dealing with COVID. There's a lot of people out there that are very nervous about it.
Well,
and,
yeah.
you can't see it, so you don't know if you're going to get it or how. And so you try to be safe. And if there's a place that maybe this church isn't a safe environment, in your opinion, then we're just encouraging you to distance yourself from that. We work very closely with the Logan County Health Department. I have contacts with Don Cavey almost weekly now.
Who does a whale of a job for us.
Yes, amazing. That crew that they have.
How
over
would you
there,
like to be in his shoes?
I'll keep the seat I've got right now.
Yeah.
Well,
And deal with
COVID
its
has
challenges.
It's a major impact on all unities. In your office, Mrs. Bateman, do you have, is your staff wear a mask as they go to the counter?
Yes, we actually put a new plexiglass right there in front of the sewer window. So now and that is something we think back now, that plexiglass should have been there way before now.
Sure.
I
It's a
wish I
shame.
had the franchise on plexiglass.
Yes,
Yeah, no
it's a
kidding.
shame that it took something like this for us to put the plexiglass
But
up
you know,
there.
there's no portion of your life that isn't affected by
Right.
this coronavirus. I've been in this world a long, long time.
You
And
sure have.
Yeah. I'm in the checkout generation. And I don't remember anything like this. Of course, I do forget things like what I had for breakfast, for instance.
Well, this COVID thing, I made a kind of a smart aleck remark about this person calling in about the church. That was off color, or off base, not off color, but certainly off base. To that person who made that call, that's a serious thing to them. And we are in a serious time in this world. This COVID thing is not just here in Logan County, as we all know, it's the world over. And it's had a terrible, serious economic impact for a lot of people. And so you ought not to be making smart aleck remarks, Bill.
Well, that's a challenge that we have right now with COVID, is that we do have a city made up of 13,000+ people at this point, and everybody feels a little differently about this particular topic. I think people are tired of being cooped up. Oddly, we're going into the winter months, and it's going to happen again, but we at the city have to create opportunities for people to do things, such as we had a road closure request last night for a band downtown. It happened last month. It worked out really well. People socially distanced. We talked about Halloween last night. People are real
Yes.
concerned right now. Can my kids go trick-or-treating?
Yeah.
And
What's
so
the
Serious
answer?
business. I don't
the
want
answer
kids
is yes.
at my house.
The council supports it.
Okay.
So, but we always have to remind people, yes, we support this, but please keep your distance, respect people's wishes, wear your PPE, your mask, and your gloves if you feel safe. With trick-or-treating this year, we're going to ask people, don't let kids reach in the buckets, hand it to them so that you don't have 300 kids' hands go in a bucket. That type of thing is what we have to remind people while creating those opportunities for them.
See, who'd have thought when you took these leadership roles in the community that you'd have to be thinking about how to dole out your Halloween trick and treats. You know, I mean, it's just endless, isn't it?
It is.
And the bottom line is money. I mean, you can only do so much with so many dollars, and everybody wants a little more service and a little less taxes.
Yes.
So, just tell me how you reconcile that, people.
Well, he became a circus juggler before he became mayor.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
You do have a lot of balls in the air to juggle around and try to find a spot for this one and for that one. Back to our streets. What if somebody were to drop in a large check, what would it take to do all of our streets at one time, Mr. Welch?
Oh, I think I pulled that number. It's been several weeks. Well,
It's astronomical.
Yeah, I mean, 170 miles, you get 3 miles for $500,000. So about $30 million, roughly. If someone dropped us a $30 million check, we'll get all the roads resurfaced next year.
And when is your appointment with that person?
Well, you know.
But, you know, we drive
do.
down the streets and we do bad things. We say things we ought not to say. But it just didn't happen overnight. I mean, these streets deteriorated over a long period of time. And perhaps somebody was a little negligent way back in thinking about regular maintenance, and suddenly we have a serious problem. And everybody get mad at the city and the city council and the mayor. They ought not to do that. They ought to try to figure some way to maybe drop a couple of bucks. Maybe we ought to have a fundraiser. That'd be a heck of a fundraiser, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there you go.
Peggy, as you open your doors every day at the city clerk's office, what is the most prevalent problem that faces you and your clerks?
Well, right now, paying the sewer bills. We have a lot of residents that are behind on their sewer bills.
Well, here again, now we go back to COVID.
Yes.
We have some people who have been economically impacted.
Yes.
That means they don't have any money. And paying something as important as a sewer bill. And yet we have to have money to support that sewer, otherwise we're not going to be able to hit that little tank behind us. And that becomes a really serious problem.
Yeah, and it's... You have people that are willing to contact us and wants to work something out, and we're willing to work with them, but all they have to do is contact us, and then it's not going to go away.
In other words,
it's not going to go away by
don't ignore the
ignoring
problem. It's going to be there.
Yes, it's going to be there. Ignoring it is just going to make it worse in the future, so it's best to try to do what we can.
How many bills, not the number, this total number, but you bill for the sewer and the water?
No, just the sewer.
Just the sewer. And what other bills is that office responsible for? And of course, each one would be billed individually because, like, for instance, my bill may be higher than my next door neighbor's because she has 6 kids or whatever.
Right.
You know? So
I better call her and tell her about that. I don't think she knows about those other kids.
she didn't even know she had a dog. Well, be that as it may, how many different type things do you have to send out every month?
Well, just residential alone is like 4,500 bills monthly.
Yeah.
And then commercial and industrial. So altogether, a little over 5,000 when you go into the months of commercial and industrial billing,
And
along
how many
with residential.
little slave laborers do you have in your office there to put that out?
There's 3, actually, 2 full-time girls and a part-time girl that actually does the sewer, and that's
Well, and they don't get bored, do they?
no, doing the bills, getting them folded. We have a folding machine, get them out, get them posted, and then all that money comes back in, or
I'd
hope
say
all that money comes back in.
it's safe to say that the taxpayers are getting a good bang for their buck there in that office. There's a lot goes on every day. And besides that, they're always very as I said to you earlier this morning, they're very pleasant if you go to the counter and ask a question. They're they make sure that you go away satisfied with their answers.
And there's a lot of residents that get the city and the county confused. They don't know which is which. So we do have a lot of people come in, think they can pay their property taxes there, and we have to direct them down, either down the street to the assessor's office or the courthouse. But it's just not property taxes. There's a lot of things that the people just gets the two entities.
You're really information central, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Peggy's office, I always refer to it as, it's kind of the heart and soul of City Hall.
Well, right.
Almost everything, regardless of what department it's in, will have a contact with Peggy or her staff at some point in time. So that office is instrumental into the operation of this city, without a doubt.
I just don't know how you do it, because we, the people, are forever ordering more services. But we, the people, don't want to give you any more money.
That's a very good comment. Peggy's office, we defend her office quite often when it comes to staffing for reasons that she just explained. I mean, 5,000 bills go out, 5,000 payments come in. So that's 10,000 pieces of mail that they're dealing with every single month. That doesn't include all of the other things that Peggy's office does, which she's here and she could tell you about them, but it's so much more than sewer billing. That's a huge part of it, but it's the little things that you don't think about. Birth certificates, marriage certificates, somebody's got to pay the staff at City Hall, payroll.
Pay the bills.
It goes on and on.
Accounts payable, all the bills.
Do they come to your desk to pay traffic fines?
You can actually, the money eventually comes through us, yes.
But your office is responsible for processing fines as assessed by a given policeman on a given street.
And parking tickets.
Can you give us kind of a thumbnail sketch of the kinds of things that you face on a day-to-day or month-to-month basis? I mean, you've got the outgoing bills and the incoming, hopefully, payments matching. But what all? And answering how much your suitcase has to weigh.
Well, there's always people selling their homes, and when you sell your home, all that information has to transfer into a new person's sewer bill. We work with the title company because majority of the houses or homes are sold, and then the realtor goes to the title company, the Logan County Title Company. So there's always that final sewer payment, and then transfer all the information to the new person. We sign off, we're the local register, so we sign off death certificates and birth certificates.
Well, what do you do about rental property? That would change hands more often.
Yes, and the homeowner or the landlord is responsible for any sewer bills.
Ultimately.
Yeah, ultimately. At the end of the day, they're responsible.
So he has to build in to his rent.
That's the best part they should do. Yeah.
Yeah, to pay all these bills.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Logan County Title Company. Now, here's an old guy reminiscing again. But the advent of computers and how they've just changed their operation in title offices spelled the denouement of long-lost art, drawing up abstracts. Ben R. Parker, who was Mr. Logan County Title eons ago, he was an artist as well as an author. And he'd do a beautiful job in drawing up these abstracts, and that's a long lost art now. Just kind of too bad.
We still refer to those. When we have projects around town, we pull those abstracts, and that helps guide us. We have GIS now on the computer, but the abstracts is what helps drive that. So,
Isn't it funny? The farther we come, the farther back we have to go to double check.
Well, funny we had to do that with part of the project, the combined sewer project, because we're doing upgrades out at the plant as well. And there's a building that sits on the front of that property, and I don't know, would it take us months to figure out exactly where our lines were, because it sits in such an odd location. So yeah, we had to go back and look at those abstracts and work with the title company and do all of that work so that we could do something as simple as put an access road in for the people working on the project. It's those type of things we deal with.
It just boggles my mind to think that in your positions, all the balls there are that you have to keep in the air. Don't hire me. You would not be happy. I couldn't manage it. I don't know how you sleep at night. That dogfight on the TV last night robbed me of a lot of sleep.
Fortunately, we don't have conversations like that at City Council. They're a little bit more professional and courteous.
Yes, you are.
That's a sad
I've watched
commentary. It is.
Thanks to television and the so-called viral thing, I've watched your city council in action, and it's a joy to see your government at work. Now, just being the mayor, that just takes a lot more than sitting there and administering a meeting. Your council is comprised of many committees, not several. And how do you work that out in your mayoral appointments and so forth?
So we do have a lot of commissions in the city, and fortunately, if they're staffed adequately, then mayors don't have to worry so much about that. The chairs of those will run those commissions. And Mayor Goodman was good when he resigned and stepped out. He had already staffed most of those commissions, and so I didn't have to worry so much about that. But those commissions are instrumental. They work together. A lot of them are people in the city. Some of them are city officials. But that's the community getting involved and volunteering to help drive the city forward. So that's one aspect of it. But I will say that the council works really good. We have a good council right now. We just brought Ron Fleshman back, who was a tremendous help with the CSO project when we started it. But it takes a team to be successful at anything, and I think we have a really good team with our department heads. They all work well together. We share information, freely with each other, and I think that helps. I try to keep the council involved as much as I can, because technically I still hold my seat in Ward 1, and I came through the ranks as an alderman, so I know how important that transparency is to them.
You've got so many departments.
Mm-hmm.
The police and the fire would be two.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And how strong, what does the tie amount to there?
Well, I would say that you have to have the right people in those seats as department heads, and you have to trust their judgment that they're running their departments. Now, I'm not going to say that as the clerk or as mayor, we don't hear things that we share with them to help them improve. And I'm not going to say that the mayor sometimes might has to be a little bit more stressful about specific topics to help solve problems. But I still think we have a really good team, and I don't think there's anything that we can't address working together. At least since I took over, I haven't had anything that we haven't been able to address.
My take on any city council, particularly here in our small little, I refer this often to kind of in a navicular way as Mayberry, because it's a great little community here.
Yep.
A councilman, to do a good job, has to sit in that seat without an agenda, a personal agenda in mind.
Correct.
Now, they may have personal things that they want to see done, but overall, I think we have some folks sitting up there in City Hall who are sitting there for the good of the community and not for their own personal aggrandizements or judgments.
Well, I talk about this when I'm out and about in the public and people talk to me about being an alderman, and I'll say that aldermen aren't doing it to get rich.
No,
because
that's
we make about $160 a month for all of, and people think that we sit up there in the meetings and that's the extent of it. I think as an alderman you can be as active or not active as you want. I was always the alderman that I would work to solve your problems regardless of time. Like this morning, I woke up, I had 3 calls before I even came and talked to you guys this morning. So I got into it to help people. That's my goal, and nothing else. And the minute that I feel I'm not effective anymore, I'll step down and let someone else step in who can and fill that seat.
Long ago and far away, I was married to Buzz for a lot of years, and he was on the council for a lot of years. And I believe you. It isn't just going to the meeting, is it?
It's not.
No.
I think the meeting is a small portion of what we do. That's what the public sees.
And I think that's what we need to remember, folks. Now, Mayor Welch just commented a couple of seconds ago that he had 3 calls before he left his house this morning.
Yeah.
I suspect that's not untypical.
There are busier days and there are lighter days. Today happens to be a busy day, it seems.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it's honestly, it's anything. It could be an interaction that someone had with one of our departments. It could be I've got a pothole in my road that's tearing up my car. I went to City Hall and I tried to pay my bill and the door was locked or something like that if they showed up early. I mean, it just runs the gamut of things. But, you know, our job is to help people and educate them. And I think we do a really good job of that. I'm not saying that everybody walks away happy, because that's an impossible task in politics, but I think we do our best.
And I do say, the aldermen also have daytime jobs.
Yes.
So they're just not sitting around waiting for a phone call.
Yeah, in fact, and so does our
They
mayor have a daytime
yes.
job. You sir are with State Farm?
I do. I work for State Farm.
Now, out of the corporate office, are you hired out of Bloomington?
Prior to March, when COVID took over, I was working in Bloomington. I haven't been in the office since March, so we're working remotely from home. But
Yes.
I think into 2021 that'll change and we'll get back into the buildings. So I've been doing that for 15 years.
It's an interesting thing that being able to work from home, and COVID has certainly put an emphasis on that. A lot of people now, for instance, my grandson, he has to do a lot of work from home with his computer, and it's an amazing world we're now living in.
It is.
This pandemic is the darndest thing, isn't it? What has it done to your office, Peggy?
It's
Turned them on their heads?
Yeah, well, there for a while, we were actually locked from the public. We were, no public could come in. The doors were locked for that for, what, a month and a half, maybe?
Yeah.
And we kind of sporadic, so the girls kind of came and went at different times, so we weren't all in there together. And it worked out fine. And then we opened the doors for the public, and people respected. They knew they had to wear a mask coming in, and they
Yes.
respected that.
I think you hit that word twice, and I think that's a key word to remember when you're talking to your city servants. Respect.
Yeah.
They're doing the best they can.
And we're all people.
Yeah, right. And sometimes the best they can is not good enough. But we have to understand that and perhaps to show a little more respect.
Yeah. And as we tell people, the rules and laws that are put out there from the council, we did not make those rules. We have to follow those rules, put what the council approved and moved forward. So after you explain that a little bit, they understand that we're just doing what we're told we have to do.
I think respect is the biggest word in the world. People just aren't showing
Right.
respect for one another in any capacity.
Well, and social media doesn't help the situation.
No.
Oh gosh, no.
You know, I'm actually still old enough to know what it was like to not have a cell phone and things of that nature. And when you had a problem, you picked up a phone or you went and saw someone and talked to them. Now on social media, you just put it out there for the world, and I think people are more aggressive than they would be in person.
Well, and people think that what they're getting through social media is in fact the news and something that's true as true can be, and it's not. It's just somebody's view on something. They just don't realize that it's just a bunch of gossip.
It is.
648-510-5510. You only have a couple of minutes here to, if you do anything else, call them up and thank them for their work. They're not getting rich in these jobs. Mayor's pay is not all that great, and certainly probably the city council
It
could.
about covers the milk.
It's a
bill
little bit
for
more
the
than
month.
being an alderman, but yeah.
And I expect Mrs. Bateman works within the confines of a strict budget in her office. That's not easy. Covering all those bases and make sure all the things that get done. Just the dissemination of tax bills and the payments that come in. We've already alluded to that. That takes a lot of time. There are a lot of pieces of mail individually. Mrs. Bateman, is there anyone, if you had a wish that was unfettered by economics, is there any one thing that you'd like to ask for your office besides a raise?
No, I don't think so.
Well, she's running a good office, folks, and I think it's not a, they say thank a policeman, and I certainly agree with that by all stretches, but it's not the worst thing in the world if you see somebody that you know works in the city office, thank them. They're working for all of us, and so it's not wrong to say thanks for doing a good job. Mr. Mayor, do you have anything that you'd like to sum up with, sir?
Well, I'd like someone to give us $30 million for roads. That would
That's
help.
a good summation if I ever heard one.
No, I mean, we're working on things at the city to help do what we can to avoid any tax increases at all while increasing the services. I've been working with the administrator a lot on identifying grants for a number of projects and efforts because, tax dollars will get you far, but grants will get you a little further and help subsidize some of that. So we're all working hard to keep the city moving forward. Everybody at City Hall is, and I think that we're doing a good job. We can always improve, and if you have feedback, please reach out and talk to us. We're people, and we like to have conversations face to face with people as well. So, don't be afraid to reach out and talk to us.
Tracy Welch, your mayor of the city of Lincoln. Peggy Bateman, your city clerk. We appreciate very much your taking your time to share your time and talents with us this morning. We'll close Viewpoint with the usual close. Be the reason somebody smiles today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank